He says to Abram, he says, look, go yourself out of your land. This is in Bereshit in Genesis 12:1. Go yourself out, and I'm going to make you a great nation and bless you and make your name great. Now remember, we've talked about this already so many times. Obviously, it was nothing about just Abraham having this, like the name itself, Abram. Actually, at this point, it's only Abram, not Abraham. And making Abram like somehow this great name. He says, no, you're going to have a great reputation. You're going to be well known. You're going to have a lineage. You're going to have authority. You're going to have a title. You know what his title is that we refer to him as? Abraham Avinu. Abraham, our father, because he was the father of all of these peoples that came, and it started with Abraham. So here we have him calling on the name of Yahweh. He builds an altar, and he calls on the name. Now, by calling on the name, the Hebrew there has the idea of calling out to. Calling out to Yahweh, he's giving honor and respect and paying homage to Yahweh. And we're going to see later, as we go further into the study, we'll see a deeper connection. So hold this in your mind. We're definitely going to connect this up. And then we see this again in chapter 13 and in verse 4, that again, he makes an altar to Yahweh in verse 4, the place of the altar which he had made there at first. And there Abram again calls on the name of Yahweh. So he's not necessarily, I'm planting a seed now, he's not necessarily just standing there making an altar and going, Yahweh. That's not what it means to call on the name. What he's doing is he's building an altar. So of course, altars have to do with giving honor, respect, and authority to someone, because that's the way that we've always done this as a culture, whether it was pagan or the true, is that we make altars, we build altars, and that's where we pray. We make sacrifices, and we pay homage to what we believe is our God, our Elohim, our Creator. And so it's when he makes these altars that he's doing it in the name of, with the authority of, and to pay homage to the name of Yahweh. The authority of Yahweh, the identity of Yahweh, who Yahweh is. Who is he? He's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who he is. Does he have a name? Yes, he has a name. How you pronounce it, I don't know. Okay, I say Yahweh, you say what you say, that's fine. But let's understand as we're going through this that it's not about that, it's about understanding he's identified as his remembrance. How do we remember him today? This is thousands and thousands of years later. We remember him as he is the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the one, not the Elohim of the thisites and the thatites and the these guys and the those guys. This is the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. At some point when we get into Leviticus, we're going to see that there's a certain point between chapters 17, 18, 19, and 20, and I'm not going to cover every one of them, where Yahweh says 4 or 5 things and then finishes those 4 or 5 things off with, I am Yahweh. In other words, I have that authority. I have the reputation, the identity. I've got the power. In other words, it's like a parent saying, because I said so. Because I'm your mother, because I'm your father. Anybody ever heard that growing up? But I don't understand. Just do what I said, because I'm your father and you need to just do what I said. Don't let appearances confuse you. See, we do that all the time. How many of us, and maybe you can raise your hand or not, it's up to you, but how many of you, when you came into this, it got worse before it got better? Okay? Isn't that the same thing that's happening here with the Israelites in Egypt? It got worse before it got better. And it's not over yet. It's going to keep getting worse because Israel's going to go through the first couple of plagues with the Egyptians. So it got worse before it got better. What you're also going to see, which a lot of people don't teach when they do the Passover, is that each one of the plagues was to make a mockery of the different Egyptian gods. Because he had to not only redeem them and bring them out of physical slavery, but they were also in spiritual bondage as well. They had lost the connection with the true Elohim. They had lost an understanding about the true Elohim. They had lost all of that, and he needed to reconnect it by first showing how ineffective and powerless the other ones were when facing the one true God. All these verses here is talking about not having other mighty ones. I am the only one. You are not to make an image, not to bow down to another image. Why? Because if you did so, you would make my name mean nothing. You would confuse people as to what my name means, which would make it not have the value and the power that it should have. My reputation will be tainted and confused. My identity would be tainted and confused. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am the one who brought you out of Egypt. I am not the one that does all this other stuff that these other nations do scattered around all the other nations. And this is one of those funny things. I have people on a regular basis who'll say to me, well, I'm still going to my Sunday church because I'm going to help bring them out of the church and stuff. Good luck. It doesn't work that way, folks. Oh, okay, somebody's going to write me an email and tell me, well, it worked in my church. Well, then you're the exception. Okay, I've been doing this more than 5 minutes. I've had conversations with people for almost 20 years now, and I can promise you, generally speaking, it doesn't work. What is working is that you're trying to justify being where you want to be because you're not ready to leave. And there's still a lot of influence that they're having on you, not you on them. They don't want your influence. They do, however, want to influence you. So stop that whole lying to yourself saying, well, I'm going to help them come out. No, you're not. It doesn't work that way. Listen to the Father and the Son teaching. They, if they're going to be drawn out, will only be drawn out by the Father and the Son. And then they can be led to you when they remember that you left. So, leaving, you may tell them when you leave, by the way, I'm leaving because I found something else that makes more sense and I found a deeper truth. Whatever it is that you explain to them, loving, gentle, meek, etc., they'll remember that, and then if they're led out, they'll know to come to look for you. You need not sit in that place where, look what it says here. It says, let them not dwell in your land. The same thing, you don't go dwell and hang out with them all day long because there's a chance that it could be a snare to you and you get caught up in what they're doing and you're thinking they're going to get caught up in what you're doing. More often than not, it works the other way.